Hope you all enjoyed the church tours, the old St John's, which was originally St Augustine's, and the new St John's. And now for our churchyard tour. I'll begin us off in the oldest area of the churchyard and one of the most interesting graves. And you see this coat of arms at the top here. It's very one-dimensional in black here on this stone, and you will see it in colour at the end of this video. 386A, you see the number there. A lot of these stones are numbered and they correlate to a monumental inscriptions book, which along with burial records has been very helpful, as you will find out. But this one is "Here lieth ye body of Sir Thomas Player, Knight, who died ye 19th of January 1685, and of Dame Joyce Player, his wife, who died ye 9th of December 1686. Now, Sir Thomas Player, he was a hosier of Magistrate, Hackney, which is just over there, and he married Joyce Kendall in 1641 at Hackney here. He and his father were knighted together on the same day, on the 5th of August 1660, in recognition for his father's services on gathering loans from the City of London for the King upon the restoration of King Charles II. Sir Thomas Player here became Chamberlain of the City of London upon his father's resignation, who was also called Sir Thomas Player. He became Chamberlain on the 13th of November 1672, and his father resigned because of ill health and died just 1 month later, and his parents lay next to him in this grave, which is all completely worn away, being made of a more porous and less durable stone than his son's. There you have the father and son, both called Sir Thomas Player, and both helped King Charles when the monarchy was restored to with loans and such. Next one I want to show you is up here. I have to clamber around sometimes. This is the one. It's an old one and it's stood up. It would have been laid down in the floor of the church originally, and its bottom of its inscription is not visible because of this reason. Number 399. Here lieth interred the body of Thomas Trench, Esquire, who died the 10th of December 1699, aged 51 years. And near this place lies Rebecca Thomas Trench, wife of his children, who all died very young. Here also lies ye body of Elizabeth, daughter of Thomas Trench, Esquire, and late wife of John Farrington, Farington, Farrington, Esquire. And the rest of the inscription's gone because it's below the ground there. So that's one of our older ones. Now, what we look at here, we would have been inside a church before 1797 and 1798. When they built the new church, the finest memorials that were in this church were taken away and put into the new church, but not all of them were. These are the ones, or parts of the ones, that weren't. But what I want to show you over here, because it's quite poignant to what we're doing, is this Celtic cross that was put up in 1901. The carving on it really is quite lovely. And it is to the glory of God and in pious memory of all who died in faith and whose mortal remains are interred in this churchyard. This cross is erected by H.C. Richards, F.S.A. K.C. M.P. 1901. It's got a bed of geraniums in front of it, and it does have an inscription on the back. Now, this churchyard I've put a lot of work and research into, and I've enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it. One, because there's the information boards on some of the graves, and two, as you're going to see in a bit, some of the inscriptions aren't visible. Bits are, and with these 3 separate pieces of paper, through burial records and the monumental inscriptions book, I'll be able to tell you some of the ones were. Those inscriptions basically are covered up, or parts of them, and this one, and in a special memory of Frederick Richards JP, born 24th of September 1820, died 23rd of November 1900. A.C.E. Richards, born 1st of August 1818, died 28th of January 1899. Frederick Field Richards, priest, born 2nd of November 1846, died 10th of April 1879. All residents in this parish from AD 1846 to 1879. Now, we've covered Sir Thomas Player, and the inscriptions on this bottom bit are for the stacked up gravestones over there. So I now need to put this piece of paper away, so I'm going to pause you. And we're back, and get this piece of paper out, which is the left side. And as I said, these ones here are from parts of the memorials that were inside of the church. The finest ones were moved into the new church, as you have seen if you've watched the Hackney St John's new church. Now, this one here, it is more or less completely worn away, but you can just make out here lies the body of Anne Thompson, the wife of, and the rest of it is completely gone. But with research and through the, because this one isn't numbered, with research and through the burial records, I found that there's 2 Anne Thompsons buried here. One buried on the 19th of August 1758, and a Miss Anne Thompson, sister to Mr. Thomas Thompson, Esquire. That was noted in the burial register, so they must have been fairly important. Buried 2nd of August 1833, aged 41. Now, come 1833, this memorial, which is more of a Georgian era, would have been very unfashionable. So she's likely to have been the Anne Thompson buried on the 19th of August 1758. This one here, you can, all there is of it really is a coat of arms, or traces thereof. Most of that's worn away too. Now you'll see what I mean about inscriptions being covered up. This churchyard in the 1880s was packed. These gravestones here, and what we're going to see on the right side of the churchyard, were everywhere. And in more recent times, they stack them up like this. It makes it less of a claim problem when people running around hurt themselves, which would happen if they were littered everywhere, and more importantly for the council, it makes it easier to maintain the churchyard, like mowing and that. But this one here, Mrs. Agnes Hayne, died the 12th of November 1799. Now, I didn't need to look her up because you can see her, it's number 6. Mrs. Sarah, and you see it's gone, it's got SA, and her name is Mrs. Sarah Hammond, and she was the sister of the above, and she died on the 16th of August 1802, aged 58 years. Now these are all the old Georgian type ones, which most of the inscriptions are gone. I mean, I could have looked every single one up that had a number on, but it would just take too long. I mean, this one here, look, John Bowland. This is one of the ones I looked up. In memory of Miss Mary Greyhurst, daughter of William and Mary Greyhurst of London, who died the 9th of June 1771, aged 10 months and 8 days. Now, as you can see, you can just about make out also Mr. William, which is his name is covered up more or less, Greyhurst. The rest of the inscription is covered up by these stones that are in front of it. Through my research, I've been able to find Mr. William Greyhurst, silversmith of London, buried on the 5th of October 1813, aged 57 years. And Mary, wife of the above, she isn't buried here, but she was the wife of the above and mother of the first person mentioned. She died in Stow-on-the-Wold in 1839, aged 82. Quite a wealthy woman, I may add. Gosh, it's excessively warm. See that you can just see the skull and crossbones peeping through on that one. And not all of them are numbered. So I've only chosen to highlight the ones that are numbered and ones I found most interesting, really. Now this one here, with a lot of armorial details on it. It's a shame there's no inscriptions on it. In the Monumental Inscriptions book, it says that it would once have had plaques above, now missing. The Monumental Inscriptions book was done in 1933, so they were missing then. And it's very, very similar to one in Barking Churchyard, except the one in Barking Churchyard, instead of having these lion's feet, has skulls holding it up. But almost so similar, in fact, that it's possibly made by the same designer or same stonemason. And you can see, for safety's sake, they've left that boulder of rock in there to hold it up. Oh, it smells of shit over here. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Do you know, I really should watch my tongue, shouldn't I? This one here, this is one that was restored. And it's grave erected by the Radley brothers in the Monumental Inscriptions book. And it's got erected by John William Radley in memory of their deceased parents, viz. Mrs. Mary Radley, who died the 25th of November 1811, aged 56 years. And it's just buried below the ground, and it's got, and also of, from the Monumental Inscriptions book, you can find out also of Mr. William, beg your pardon, Mr. John Radley, Master Butcher of Hackney, and he was buried on the 23rd of August 1824, aged 66. So this is where it's helped, because with missing inscriptions that we wouldn't be able to see, a bit of research and you can find out who they are. On the back is also John William Radley, son of John and Cecilia Radley, who died January the 23rd, 1833, aged 7 years. Gentle Jesus, meek and mild, Lord, upon a little child, pity my... No, the rest of that's gone, I'm afraid. That's the first. Right, I'll point you towards the wall, because there's more around here. And we're basically still in the old bit of the churchyard, but we'll be going into the new bit of the churchyard soon. Oh, this is the one I wanted to show you over here. Here you have Mary Munt. This isn't the one I wanted to show you. Mary Munt. Interestingly enough, can't find no burial record for her, so it may just be a memorial stone. Abraham Grier, son of James and Mary Grier of this parish, and you can see died something January, and the rest of it is gone because it's covered up, and this scaly stuff behind the back has hidden a lot of the inscription. But Abraham Grier, he died on the 9th of January 1773, aged 4 years and 3 months. So at least we know who he was. I'll walk us back along this way, and I'm going to have to pause you and No, I don't think I am going to have to actually. Edward George. See, this is what I mean, a lot of them are worn away. Now this is where we leave Old Churchyard and enter New. With just what we've got here.
Simplicity. I don't want.
Just what we've got here. In memory of John Godfrey of this parish, who died the 12th of February 1804, aged 55 years. Now that's where the boundary of the old parish ends and the new one begins, which is where I'm going to take you now. And where I shall have to get my notes back out again in a minute. Sorry if I have to point you down, it's because it's busy here and I don't like pointing the phone in people's faces. This one here you've got in memory of Elizabeth, wife of William Burch, who died March the 11th, 1852, aged 75 years. Also the above William Burch, who died October the 9th, 1859, aged 79 years. So he would have been coming right towards the end of when they banned more burials in here, which was in the 1860s. John Edmonds, who died 8th of April 1859, aged 65 years. Jane Burch, daughter of William and Elizabeth Burch, who died February the 12th, 1895, aged 85 years. Now this is interesting here because as the law was, it was banned to new burials. If you had an old family grave and there was still viably space in it, you could be buried in there, which some were. So that's that one. Now I should take you over here, over this way. There's one we don't need notes for. I can put this set of notes away now and get the other set back out. This place is a vibrant mix of young people, old people, posh people, smackheads, crackheads, alcoholics and everything in between, my dears. So watch yourselves. And we're heading over here to this one. Because like I said, I like to cover everyone from the wealthy and influential people, like the Rowe family, whose tomb is there, whose mausoleum killed the sextoness. If you've watched the old St John's at Hackney church video, you'll learn all about that and learn about the Rowe tomb as well. But I like to cover ordinary people as well. And here lie the remains of Robert John Batt, grave 299, didn't have to look it up because it's inscription, of this parish, plumber. And he was son of William Batt. So let me start again because the sun's, that's better. Sun's right in my eyes. It's very warm today. Here lie the remains of Robert John Batt, son of William Batt, of this parish, plumber. Now a plumber in those days didn't just repair pipes and things like that. They did things like window glazing, you know, the lead for the windows, and also soldering people into their lead coffins, which would have been quite lucrative in this parish. And Robert John Batt, he died on the 10th of July 1796, aged 18 years. Also of the above William Batt, who was the plumber, who died on the 16th of November 1800, aged 58 years. Now you notice there's no mother mentioned there. Can't find a marriage for a William Batt here. There are a few other females of the Batt name buried here, but without certain proof I won't put a name to a person. So these are some of the older ones as well. So we're now back in, theoretically, the old part of the churchyard. And it's notes away and other notes back out. Because these ones I've had to do a fair bit of research on. So, as we leave Old Churchyard and go back into New, you can hear the bells of the new Hackney St John's ringing. You'll join me for the next part of the video, which is going to be a nice little historic colour image of our man's coat of arms that we first began with, and I hope you're all going to enjoy that. And once you've watched that, join me for part 2. Sir Thomas Player, the grave we first began with. And doing my research has not only thrown up a colour image of his coat of arms as promised, but a very, very interesting and slightly dark story. Sir Thomas Player, a hosier of Mare Street, Hackney, was the grandson of a linen draper of Canterbury. His father, also Sir Thomas Player, was a captain in the trained bands, sent by Parliament to the relief of Gloucester in 1643, and became Chamberlain of London for life in 1561, a position which he was forced to resign from in 1672 due to ill health, dying just 1 month later. And his son, whose grave we see here, would follow directly in his father's footsteps and take up the position of Chamberlain of the City of London upon his father's resignation in 1672. Here is the colour coat of arms as promised from the College of Arms. He and his father were both knighted together on the same day by Charles II in recognition of his father's services for the collection of loans granted by the city to the Crown at the restoration of the monarchy. What you have to remember is, when Cromwell died, you had Cromwell's son come in, who was known as Richard Cromwell, or what a lot of people nicknamed him as Tumbledown Dick, because he didn't last very long. He was nothing like his father. And people realised that they wanted a monarchy back. They were sick and tired of the Puritan regime. It was miserable, it was stolid, and people just didn't like it. Things like Christmas and the Maypole were banned. And Charles II was invited back. Lord Sandwich, a man who was closely tied up with my favourite historical Londoner, Samuel Pepys, was the man sent to bring him back. And what you have to remember is, Charles and his family fled, and they were a royal family without means. So when they came back, royal though they were, they had no money. So men like the Viners and the Players and the Sandwiches and people like that, they all did what they could to secure funds for the royal family. And of course, for doing that, they wanted favours in return, which was the knighthoods and things like that. And here is the coat of arms as an original block print. Now, this is where our story gets very interesting. The Popish Plot. The Popish Plot was a fictitious conspiracy invented by Titus Oates that between 1678 and 1681 gripped the kingdoms of England and Scotland in anti-Catholic hysteria. Titus Oates alleged that there was an extensive Catholic conspiracy to assassinate King Charles II, accusations that led to the execution of at least 22 men. Here is Titus Oates himself. The Popish Plot is also tied up with the very weird and unsolved murder of Sir Edmund Berry Godfrey, a prominent magistrate who on the 12th of October 1678 left his house in the morning but did not return home. He was found dead in a ditch on Primrose Hill on the 17th of October. Godfrey was lying face down and had been impaled with his own sword, yet not a drop of blood was found at the scene, and Godfrey's body was found to have been entirely drained of blood, so obviously murdered elsewhere. There were other things as well. Wax was found on the body, and some say that weird Catholic rituals were done and stuff like that. It was a real hysteria thing against the Catholics in those days. And it's an unsolved murder mystery that even my favourite historical Londoner, Samuel Pepys, was caught up in. When Captain William Bedloe, who claimed to be a reformed Catholic plotter, claimed that he had been taken to Somerset House on the 14th of October to see the body of Godfrey, although on the previous day he had claimed just the opposite. He said that he had seen two men, including Samuel Atkins, who was the secretary to Samuel Pepys. And where does our man, Sir Thomas Player, come into all this? After the dissolution of the Oxford Parliament, an informer reported to the government that there were frequent meetings held at night at Player's house near Guildhall, attended by Clayton Pilkington and Sir Patience Ward. Player, like Clayton, was said to be for a free state and no other government. On the 28th of April 1681, Player presented to the Court of Aldermen a citizen's petition setting out the necessity for calling of a parliament to continue the investigation of the Popish Plot and the dangers threatening the Protestants. Despite strenuous efforts on the part of the court to disappoint Sir Thomas Player's evil designs, the Common Council voted on the 13th of May an address for calling and the sitting of Parliament and appointed Player on the committee to draw it up. Next month, the government arrested Brian Haynes, one of Shaftesbury's witnesses in the Popish Plot, who gave evidence against him and revealed that Player was the treasurer of a Whig fund to maintain the witnesses in the plot, and that John Rouse, his agent in city elections, distributed allowances to them. There were rumours that Player's arrest would follow, but on the 18th of October, when Rouse was tried for high treason on the evidence of informers previously used by Shaftesbury, a jury packed by Pilkington returned an ignoramus verdict. An all-Whig jury brought a similar verdict in on Shaftesbury's case, and perhaps for this reason no action was ever taken against Player. Sir Thomas Player was nicknamed Sir Thomas Cresswell by his Tory enemies on account of his intimacy with a lady called Mother Cresswell, who is Elizabeth Cresswell, the keeper of London's most notorious brothel in Moorfields, where he was said to owe a debt of £300. Now, Elizabeth Cresswell, absolutely fascinating woman. All I can suggest is that you go on your search engines and type in Mother Cresswell and you'll come up with a very interesting story. It's quite a lot to it as well, so her not being buried in this churchyard and not being related directly by blood to any of our people buried in there, I won't cover her entire story, but all I can suggest is that you go and give that a look up. It's very, very interesting. And after being embroiled in all that lot and getting away with it, thanking his lucky stars quite obviously, Sir Thomas Player and his wife quietly retired to the countryside of Hackney, which it was in those days, and lived out the rest of their days, which was only a few years for Sir Thomas Player, because he died in 1685 and his wife followed him the year afterwards to the grave. And that, ladies and gents, concludes part 1. Join me for part 2, where we shall be seeing the grave of a rear admiral who invented a life-saving device, and graves of the ordinary people like a shoemaker, a plumber, and everything in between. So I hope you've all found this interesting, and thank you for watching.